Thank you, Action Associates, for inviting us to present today, and thank you to everybody for joining. So yes, as Liz stated here, the topic here for the next half an hour: trade project chaos for project control, and we'll be highlighting the Asite solution and how that works with Acumatica to really help bring together all of the data required for both the front office and the back office, the front folks in the back. So, okay, let's move on. So just to set the stage here a little bit in regards to what we're going to cover, we'll kind of introduce this with a really statement that I'm sure we all can relate to at some point in our careers, and that is that poorly managed projects are expensive, right? And a study, it's a couple years old, but a recent study showed that for every $1 billion spent on projects in the U.S., there was a loss or waste of roughly $122 million, meaning that 12% of the budget for projects was wasted due to poor management. And I think again we probably all can relate to that. Information, the right information, and timely access to that information is critical for ensuring that we all are able to successfully accomplish what we need to do every single day, every week, every month in regards to the projects that we're working on. And I've been doing this, working with construction companies now since the mid 90s. And technology's come a long way since then, obviously. And so as you take a look at that project binder on the right, when I started, and it was really back working with job cost accounting systems, and that's really all these systems were. But I'd ride along every once in a while with one of our clients and hop in with a project manager to better understand what they were doing. And inevitably, the first thing I'd have to do is take that binder that we saw there that they had on that front seat of their truck or car, and move it over, right? So I could sit down, because that was really what the project manager had to work from, right? So that was the latest copies of plans that they had, copies of contracts, their RFI logs, outstanding submittals. Everything was stuffed into that binder. And it was imperative that they try as best they could to keep that up to date, and make sure that they were disseminating information as appropriately to all of the folks that were working on the job site, whether they were employees of our client or they were subcontractors, et cetera, to try to ensure that everybody had the right information. Because as we know, individuals working on a construction site that don't have the most current set of information, don't understand what outstanding items are, don't understand the things that they're supposed to be prioritizing, that becomes very costly, right? So that's what we'll be discussing today, is how we really help to bring all of this together with the Asite project workflow solution in conjunction with Acumatica, right? So our projects are more complex than ever, change is happening faster than ever. We need to be able to communicate with all the constituents, right? And that's where Asite comes in here to help ensure that you're maximizing the profitability of every project. So when we talk about Asite project workflow, we're really going to be getting into a set of functionality here that's about providing collaboration tools and about automating construction processes, right? So when you take a look up here at this graph, or this table that we've got up on the screen right now, kind of take a look at it in two sides. On the left-hand side, we're really talking about what we're providing in regards to a common data environment. And that is that it's an environment that has access to any individuals that you choose to provide access to, whether they be internal employees, external employees, et cetera, for access to all of the latest information in regards to that project, whether it be plans, copies of relevant contracts. It could be, again, outstanding tasks that folks are supposed to do, et cetera. And on the right-hand side, we're really highlighting a lot of the key standard construction processes that we're automating: RFI processes, daily field reporting processes, meeting minutes, photo logs, health and safety, quality assurance, punch list tracking, schedule management, right? And a lot of this is going to be accomplished with what we're going to show here in regards to our forms capabilities, as well as tied to our workflow capabilities. So all of this common data environment, all of these, our project controls, our field operations, all of this is going to be running off of the Asite platform that we'll be highlighting here. That's going to provide dashboarding and analytics tools, right? So that folks know exactly, what are the outstanding items, where's ball in court, what should we be focusing on, et cetera. We'll be highlighting our field and mobile application. Again, the app builder here is our forms creation tool, and we provide out of the box forms tools, but very powerful tools as well to take and modify them, workflow components, etc. Now, as you take a look at this, some of you may be saying, well, hey, Acumatica has a project management solution, and they do. And in many cases, that Acumatica solution may be sufficient for what your needs are. Kind of the rule of thumb where we start, though, is why would you take a look at Asite as the addition to Acumatica rather than the Acumatica project management solution would largely be around requirements for collaboration. So that Acumatica tool really was designed in most cases for folks internal to your client or to the construction company, folks that you're providing access to log into Acumatica to do their work. And most typically, you're not doing that with external team members, subcontractors, et cetera. You may also need to collaborate around plans and other documents and track revisions and all those types of things that we'll highlight here for you in the next couple of minutes. So all of that's going to come into play with Asite really being the tool that allows you to connect all of the team members there. Right, and again, this is just a graph here highlighting that again, whether it's the combined Acumatica and Asite solution is going to connect the back office to your customers, your subcontractors, your management, your field employees. And the delineation that we'll get into just a little bit today is Acumatica is going to manage all the financial components, and Asite is going to be handling all the project management and collaboration components. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Alan Drum in just a minute. But we're going to start by taking you through some standard forms and processes. Then we'll get into some document management components. We'll touch on the mobile application. We'll touch on dashboards. And of course, we'll be highlighting the integration with Acumatica. But with no further ado, I want to introduce Alan Drum, who's our VP of Solution Engineering. And Alan, I'll turn it over to you to do the demonstration.
Excellent, Dan. Thank you. Appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining today. Let me share my screen and make sure everybody can see my screen. Let's go here. Dan, can you let me know if everybody can see?
Or if you can. Yep, we can.
Excellent. So just starting off here, quick orientation. As you can see, I'm running Acumatica currently. We'll come back and spend a little bit more time on this, but what you're seeing is Asite running within the Acumatica framework. This is one of the many dashboards that can be configured on Asite. We'll come back and spend a little bit more time on this, but as Dan laid out in the really kind of the demonstration agenda, what we really want to focus on is the data and the components that we're managing, and then we'll come back and look at how the dashboard pulls all of that information together for the users. But you'll notice just from a user interface standpoint, ability to move between the various parts of the application are here at the menus at the top. We've got some shortcuts. I'm going to drill right down into a couple of examples on the form side, because this is an area that we certainly differentiate ourselves and have the ability to, as Dan said, really expand and interact with the collaborative constituents on the project. So something as simple as an RFI log, you're noticing now that I'm in the project forms area. For RFIs, I'm looking at the RFI log. I can see the ID, it's automatically sequenced, what's the issue or the item that we're tracking, what's its current status, all these different attributes against this particular form or document. If I open up the form just by clicking on it, what you'll see within our forms tool, again, I'll show some different examples, is kind of our standard out-of-the-box RFI, but all of our forms can be configured with colors and layouts and the different fields that are that you want to manage. And so when we look at an RFI, just an example, pretty simple, right? What's the issue? What are we referencing? What's the category? Is it a field condition, or where are we having the question arise? Is it related to a particular discipline and section? Obviously, things like tracking what priority, cost impact, schedule impact. The key with the forms here within Asite is all of the data that we have within our forms is actionable. And by that, I mean that the data is now, when we fill out a form and move it through its workflow and process, all of that data can be seen on the dashboards, it could be seen in the logs, it could be seen in the reporting. So really, again, out of the box RFI, but if there's additional information that's important to you, I've had customers come back and say, oh, we really want the spec section on here, or we want something else in particular, or we want to relate and drive and connect an RFI to maybe a change order request. All of those things are possible within the form, or what we call the app builder within Asite. So you can see that the request for the information came through, and then we've already gotten a response here from a particular user. All of that correspondence is logged in the form itself. So I could turn this on and off, right, and see, how it was originated, who it went to for response, whose ball and court it's in now. All of that is managed within the particular form. Other things that are critical typically within the forms area, things like being able to configure a status. A lot of times we want to send things through various statuses or stages. That can all be built into each particular form. And then last but not least, just another component here is being able to relate existing data on the system or upload new data along with the form. So I can attach new information, pictures, files, whatever the case may be, or I can even reference existing documents that are on the platform already. So in this case, we had an RFI, as a question about this air handler. And in fact, we already had an approved submittal. So we're now questioning why this didn't meet the specification when it arrived on site. Did we get the wrong thing shipped in? Whatever the case may be. And so all of that is contained within the particular form. So just a real quick example of an RFI. In contrast, we'll go to something like a daily field report. And when we look at the daily field report log, again, different examples here, you'll just see a different construct to the form, right? And so in the case of a daily field report, we have sections that can be configured based on what information you want your superintendents, foreman, whatever the case may be, to report from the field, project manager, right? What are the weather conditions? What, do we have any work stoppage? What are the visitors? In my example, myself and Glenn worked on this project 8 hours, and we operated a crane, and we had no issues, right, in terms of safety that were reported. So again, this is kind of our standard out of the box configuration, but all of these forms can be modified within Asite using our app builder tool to really get the data that you choose and want to collect for your business processes. Another quick example, just again, kind of highlighting some of the differentiation of the capability, something like a meeting minute, right? So in the meeting minutes, we get a little bit more specialized, but we obviously are logging all the forms and the data that's been collected. When we look at a meeting minute example, you'll notice we have the ability to track attendees. We can set out an agenda and drive, that agenda recording, what was discussed, and then if there are, most importantly, any follow-up tasks related from the meeting, all of that can be driven within the meeting minute form itself. So now we're getting, actionable results from the meeting minutes, assigning tasks immediately. And again, because Asite is designed to be a collaborative platform, that could be internal team members, it could be architects, engineers, subcontractors, whatever the case may be. All of this then is managed and coordinated through the collection and management of the data within the form itself. So pretty straightforward in that regard. We'll come back as we look back at the dashboard, what you'll see, and I'll kind of weave this in as we go. Not only did I have the shortcut, but you're noticing here, I'm also getting a counter. So I had 21 RFIs that are due response that have been assigned to me. So there's some ball and court information. You see ball and court information here as well, right? So by app, or what we call, the forms we call apps. So RFIs, tasks, change order request, punch list. I have quick visibility to all of these as a user in terms of what's due and overdue. And those tasks, same way up here, what's due and overdue, what was sent to me for comment. 2 of them are for status change, 3 I need to take action, and 7 of the documents are just for information only. Someone sent it to me and I just need to review it. So again, collecting the right data, getting it to the right folks. I always say right information, the right people, at the right time for the appropriate action is really what Asite's purpose built to do. So with that, we'll move away from the forms. And again, no limit to the number of forms. We deal with contractors every day that have given us very specialized forms. The standard out of the box just won't work for them, or they need something special that they want to document. We can virtually build any form we need to within the platform. On the file side, or what I like to refer to as electronic assets, again, we'll deal with something like a drawing. When we look at the drawings, a couple of things, at least in my career, I've seen that are traditionally difficult in managing some of the different electronic assets, and particularly drawings. and that is proprietary file types, things like DWG files or DGN files that come from, the proprietary CAD authoring tools, as an example. And what you'll notice here is the type, in fact, is a DWG. I'm going to open it, and what you'll see is that Asite's viewer handles natively 250 different file types. Now, this one's got a lot of markup. I kind of made it messy on purpose, but you can see that within this, the DWG has already been converted in our viewer and allows us to do the markup. So being able to come in and add markups as appropriate, I can annotate, add shapes, whatever the case may be, I can do that directly on the drawing or within the collaboration as we're moving this through the various constituents that are involved in reviewing this particular document. What you'll see, or what you saw on the right-hand side here, were those comments that have been made around the markups of the drawings. So if I clear this real quick, what you'll see is that, for example, I can highlight one specific markup and see that there was a question regarding the different locations for the doors in this particular configuration where we changed the plan, did a call out, I've assigned it to a number of recipients, I can see that. And then there's already been a response logged where, in my case, I confirmed that these changes were correct so it can move forward in the workflow. So markups, visibility of proprietary file types, managing all the collaboration and discussion around the document. As indicated, similar to what we saw on the form side, we can move these through various approval stage gates, again, depending on how you want those configured. And again, this was assigned for status changes showing, how long ago that was assigned, whatever the case may be. I can see all of that within the status area here. We also manage, we're a full document revision system, so we can handle multiple revisions. We store all of those within the relationship to the file. So at any given time, I can do something like comparing the existing or current version with the original version. And again, if I was familiar with this project, I would know, what changes in fact that we've made, which include, expanding this conference room for the client and changing the configuration of the hallway as from the original example. Again, doing something as simple as doing an overlay, really allowing people to see where the changes have been made in a particular document or drawing can all be handled directly on the platform. Last but not least, in addition to comparing the files, we have the ability to obviously distribute either manually or through defined workflows. So one of the strengths of Asite is our ability to configure and design any number of workflows for distribution and interaction with documents. So we can define user tasks, we can define system tasks, we can set triggers so that things are sent and notified to users for action. Again, right information to the right people at the right time for the appropriate action is what Asite's designed to do. And the workflow helps automate that. Certainly you can do ad hoc distributions as required, but the automation and consistency within the workflows that your organization defines are an area that we find critical for our customers and really a differentiator for the Asite platform. With that, that really kind of takes us through the file management. There's a lot of features and capabilities here within this, but just meant to give you really an introduction. Again, as we saw before, back at the dashboard level, all of those tasks, again, I've got 4 drawings that need my action. We do the same thing with submittals. So, on the submittal side, again, any document, you can see the folders here that are organizing the electronic assets in the way that I choose. These folder structures are completely configurable. Your organization gets to decide based on each project, or we also set up project templates that allow, these pre-configured folder structures to be applied to, each project. But if we look at, something like a submittal, right, we can see very quickly, I'll just pull one up here on this package unit. We can see the document that's been submitted. We can see, any of the information. And again, it can go through workflow. It can have markups with it. So again, not just drawings, but any electronic asset that you're managing on the platform can use the same tools within the files area of our application. So as we move from this, what I'd like to do now is go to our mobile area and give you a quick introduction for that. So I'm running, we do run Asite in a true mobile application. So this is installed on my iPad as an iOS. We also support Android. But as you look at this running live, what you'll be able to see is that from the mobile, we get all of the same capabilities that we did on the browser. The big differentiator here, and you can see it up in the right-hand side, is that we have this configured as a thick client, meaning we can store the data locally to the device. So I can synchronize the data that I choose so that I can take it with me in the field if I don't have an internet connection. You know, for example, I've chosen based on this little thumbtack, and it's green saying I have the latest versions. I've configured the system so that every time I leave the office, I've got the most current set of drawings on my iPad, right? So the latest and greatest are all here. Same capabilities that I had before on the browser side. And again, this is an area that I find crucial. I've worked with a lot of project management systems in my career, and often the mobile application doesn't give you the same capabilities as the native web-based application. So in the case of Asite, that is not true. We do have all the same functionality. So you see all the markups. I can add markups as we were talking about before. I can see all the collaboration around this particular drawing and document, just like we did before. And again, all the other actions similar to what we had shown on the web-based version. I can download, I can create new revisions, I can change the status, I can distribute the files. All of that is available within the platform here on the mobile device. So with that, a couple of specialized things we do on the mobile side that expand, really for field activities and things like quality. So when I look at quality, I'm able to define around this change for the business center that we were working on. I'm able to change or set up really pre-configured steps or stages that can follow a very specific quality plan. And what it really means is that I can set up those forms in a sequence so that my users in the field know what they're supposed to fill out, right? And those can be checklists, they can be inspections, whatever you define. And so in this case, if I go to it, it's going to open up now yet another more specialized form that we have standard within Asite, and that is what we call our checklist. So this one was an inspection, basically to look at the wallboard, right, the sheetrock that's being installed, right, pass, fail, all the different pieces. But you get to design and really configure the steps or the areas and the stages and the items that you wish for users to confirm have passed inspection. So that's just a quick example of one of the inspection forms that we do. And again, we've lined out, I've got a first QA, I've got a secondary MEP where the rough end's been done, and then we're going to close up the walls, and I want to make sure everything's correct, and then we're going to get an update from there. So just one way that you can utilize then the forms on the platform to drive a business process. Same is true on the punch list side. What we do here, a little bit more specialized, and that is that we will basically take the drawing and define the areas that we're working in. So in this case, we were reconfiguring these two conference rooms. And what you'll notice, the little pins on the drawing are actual forms that I've raised. This one's a completed punch list items. This is an open punch list item here. And again, I can view those forms directly from here. So imagine, depending on which side you're on, right? If let's say I'm the general contractor, I'm walking through the quality and assigning punch list items perhaps to my subs. You can see who it was raised and who it was assigned to. The sub, in contrast, as you give them access, they can look at what's been assigned to them and then come in and complete the appropriate corrective action. And again, it's really easy on the user interface to raise any forms that we configure, right? So I can, whatever forms are appropriate for this project can all be configured to be raised directly within the punch list area of the application. All right. So just taking you back, and I know we're moving pretty quickly, but hopefully that gives you some indication of the capabilities, of extending the functionality that I had already shown, being able to do it in mobile. But as we look back, again, I think it's important to note that all of the data that we're managing in Asite is able to be viewed and accessed from within Acumatica, as I'm doing here. You could also obviously access it without being logged into Acumatica. So in contrast, I'm logged in directly to Asite, same view. And again, this is likely more appropriate for a third-party constituent, right? So subcontractor is going to come in to the application without having to come through Acumatica. And that's really, one of the key design aspects of our integration is allowing the appropriate personnel to be accessing the data where it makes the most sense. And so with that, you've seen a couple of these examples as I've gone along with the way that we've done the dashboards. We've configured those. Again, there's no limit to the number of dashboards that can be configured. They're all built with these, what we call gadgets, that allow for favorites and shortcuts, showing recent updates, things of that nature, filters. One of the ones that I like is this filter. And so if you imagine all of that data we were collecting in the forms, or even metadata that we have against documents, being able to do things like look at those RFIs with a potential cost impact, right? I want to look at those first. And so now I've created a filter that automatically drives that filtering for me automatically. So, and again, it gave it a visual indicator back on the dashboard that showed me how many were outstanding that met that criteria. So I'm not having to hunt, peck, look around, the data is presented right to me as a user saying, oh, looks like we've got 25 things that folks have identified may affect our budget or may affect our schedule, however you configure it. Very important, right information, right time, appropriate people for the appropriate action. All right. So with that, the last thing I'll show you here as we wrap up is really the other part of our integration, really at the project level. What we've done is also provide not only that dashboard view, but we've provided a side panel view. So now as users navigate the projects within Acumatica, they also have the ability then to see, with the appropriate security, the other documents and everything that we gathered, and stored on the Asite platform, directly interacting with the project. So as I scroll this list, I get the appropriate context on the right-hand side. And again, these are side panels. You guys are probably used to these. I can open them up in a full screen. I can have them as a split screen, whatever is appropriate for making sure that for this project, I can get to all the documentation, all the forms that have been created for this project. And so with that, I know we've moved quickly. Dan, I'm going to hand it back over to you as we kind of wrap up our session here today.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. And really just kind of wrapping up here, again, the lightning speed here covered this functionality. Obviously, far more we could get into in separate sessions, but hopefully we gave you a good flavor there. And as we discussed, all of that really designed to help maximize the project revenues and decrease risk, right? To ensure that you're successful with your projects. And so with that, Liz, I think we got a minute or two here if there are any questions.
Yeah, we got a couple of them that we can ask real quick. One of them is, does Asite charge per user?
It's a great question. Inherently, no. It's designed to be an unlimited use application. So whether the folks are internal of the company or external of the company, it's been set up so that you've got unlimited users, also unlimited storage as well for the application.
Okay, great. The next question is, what is the cost of the integration between Asite and Acumatica?
Yeah, great question. Because I do know that some products out there do charge for the integration, but the way we've developed this, there's no third-party tools that are part of it, so there is no there's no charge for the integration. It's it's provided for Acumatica and Asite joint customers. They simply receive the integration at no additional charge.
Great. And the last question that came in is there an additional charge if users are not part of the company/client?
Yep. No. Yeah. Exactly. Just what we said. I mean, again, we've set it up. There is no additional charge. You'll set up each of the users, obviously, for whatever security rights or privileges or what they should or should not have access to, right? So if you've got external folks, you very possibly you're giving them very specific and limited access. Whereas perhaps internal users, have a broader set of access, but all of that's set up by the administrator in regards to, what the access is. And you can do it either user by user, or most often what folks are doing is setting it up by roles.
Great. Well, that was all the questions we received right now. And unfortunately, we are out of time. So I just want to thank everyone for joining. Dan and Alan, thank you so much for presenting for us. The Aktion sales team will be in touch and following up with everyone. Again, if you have any immediate questions, please feel free to contact me directly. My contact information is in the chat. And just thank you everyone for your time and for joining us today.
All right. Thanks, Liz. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Acton. All right. Great. Cheers.
Thank you.